So what is the Azure pipeline is as a pipeline as a code. We are going to automate like a CI/CD kind of things, and we are going to deploy like a CI/CD pipelines. We are going to set up, and it supports YAML or classic kind of UI. Just like in Jenkins, we have like a Jenkins file, or we can keep even like a freestyle kind of project also. Here with the classic UI also we can perform. Okay, and a lot of people may have doubt only supports .NET, not like that. Any of the like language it is supporting. Okay, so we already created our pipeline also. Like our pipeline first starts with the trigger. Like what is the trigger is going to perform is for which branch, if any of the code committed, then we are going to trigger the pipeline. Then we have the pool of image. Image is nothing but the agent. Like we have two types of agents. One is Microsoft managed agent, and second one is self-hosted agent. Then we have the steps. Okay, so the steps we have. Okay, so in this, mostly like Azure is providing inbuilt tasks, or even in the marketplace also we have those tasks. And from the task, like corresponding to your application, if it is Maven or maybe unit testing or like a Sonar Cube, or we want to build a .NET based application, Java based application, or Node.js based application, we have the corresponding task. So we need to discuss around 40 to 50 important tasks. Okay, so then what are the inputs we need to pass also we need to understand. In the same way, even in the GitHub also we have the actions. That actions also we need to specify. Okay, then like we will discuss what are the components we have in the YAML file. So what are the key components we have in the YAML file? We'll discuss. Okay, so first one is the trigger. So what is the trigger is? Here we are going to specify like if any of the branch, any new code committed, then according to that we want to trigger the pipeline. Okay, so for that we are going to use the trigger. Then like define the branch that trigger the pipeline on pull request also. So the pull request PR also we can specify, trigger also we can specify. Then that pull request also we can pipeline on pull request also we can perform. Any code commit or depends upon the pull request merged also, we can perform the trigger the pipeline. Then we have the agent. In the agent, what we are specifying is like the pool of agents or name we can specify. Managed agents or self-hosted agents we can specify. Managed agents or self-hosted agents we can specify in the pool. Then we are going to pass the variables. In the variables, what we are passing is like for the different settings, you can pass them through variables, either static or sensitive kind of data also as the secrets we can pass it. Okay, now here what is the variable name? What is the name of the variable? Build
Release the variable.
configuration. No, build configuration is the variable name. That value what we have given is release. And whenever we want to use it, like this here, we are going to specify dollar that variable name we are going to, in the Terraform, we are going to use var dot that variable name we are declaring. So now here in this dollar that build configuration, we are going to specify dollar that build configuration, we are going to specify that. Okay.
So this is equivalent to Jenkins credentials, right?
Yeah, Jenkins also we are passing environment details.
Yeah, credentials. Yeah.
And not only credentials, we can pass the environment.
Yeah. Okay.
Credentials means sensitive. Here also we can declare those sensitive also.
Okay.
Okay. Then here we have the stages, that corresponding stages itself we are calling as the steps. In the steps we have sequence of tasks we can perform. Okay. In the steps we have the sequence of tasks we can perform. And in the task, what we are going to do is like we have the predefined task we have either from the Microsoft we are getting, or even we can use from the marketplace extensions we can install. And from that also we can use those tasks. We can run the predefined task either from the Microsoft or from the marketplace also we can use. So suppose depends upon your project and which activities you need to perform. We need to choose those tasks we need to choose. So in our use case, like if it is .NET based, one Node.js based, one Java Spring Boot, for that you need to create the different pipelines, and those input values also we need to like understand. Then like we can have the multiple stages also we are going to keep, like maybe build stage like this also. Better to split that into multiple stages. In the stages, we have the jobs. Okay, so a group of steps that can run on the specific agent, we can configure, and we can use the parallel kind of stages also for the faster execution. We can use those jobs also at the faster level we are going to execute. Okay, then like environment details, like we can specify for the target environment and approvals. We are creating different environment and deployment groups. And to that deployment groups also, we can choose that at the release pipeline. We'll discuss. So now here already we discussed this YAML file. So here we have the build config is release is that. Then they're going to use the configuration like build release they're going to use, and display name is just for us, it's going to display that. Okay, organization, project, we have pipeline, then agent. So in agent again we have two types: Microsoft hosted agent, second one is self-hosted agent. So Microsoft hosted agent and the self-hosted agent we have, and job on the agent that job is going to run, and multiple jobs also can run parallel. Okay, then task, like a step inside the job that performs specific action. Okay, in the script we are going to keep, and in the script we are going to specify the task also. Okay, so job is a collection of steps. Job is a collection of steps, and repo is our repo, either GitHub, Bitbucket, or Azure repos. It can support different kind of repos we can use. And artifactories, like what is the output we are going to get after we build the pipeline, are the artifactories. And these all we are going to store in Azure Artifactory. We are going to store them. And we can integrate even with the testing manual test cases integration, all those also test plans, test cases, all those also we can use in the Azure itself. Okay, then environments, like which environments we need to deploy, like a collection of resources we are keeping in the deployment group. And on that we can create the dev deployment groups and QA. In that we are going to deploy, and we can give the approval gates and checks also. Then like the values we are going to pass at the pipeline level, we are calling as a variable. At the multiple pipelines, we can create the variable groups. So now here, if you want to use like sensitive kind of details from the Azure Vault, then you need to declare the variable or variable groups. If you want to use Azure Vaults as the secrets, if you want to use, then do you need to manage variable or variable groups? Which one we need to use?
Variable.
No, no. Variable groups we need to declare. If it is a sensitive details, all those, not directly variable we are using. Variable groups we are going to use it. Okay. So
So
then
one more thing, how we will call this wall to pipeline, the
that
variable
service connection we need to create.
service correct.
Yeah, one service connection, and we need to give the permissions, all those also. So
Okay, sir.
that steps also we'll discuss. Okay. So then we can keep the matrix base also, like we want to run the multiple jobs on the different OS and different, like in the, here we are giving the matrix base also. Okay, so depends upon the Ubuntu is there, the steps are different, Windows is different. Like this also we can configure the matrix base. And trigger, like we can keep on the code push, or on pull request, or on the schedule kind of thing. On that, say suppose here we have a poll SCM kind of feature is there in Jenkins. On that particular date and time also, we can schedule those. Okay, we can schedule. And what is the service connection? Like Azure DevOps organization, like what are the projects we have, want to communicate with Azure services like app services, or maybe Vault kind of things, or Kubernetes, or GitHub, Docker Hub, ACR. For all these, we need to establish the the service connection need to be established. We need to establish service connection need to be established. Okay, so that's we are going to set up the service connection, and with that it's going to authenticate. Service connection is going to be authenticated. Okay, then like here we need to configure the approval gates also. Like we want to move from one environment to say suppose dev to QA, QA to staging, staging to production. Before itself we are going to create the different deployment groups, and we can promote from like a quality gates kind of approval gates we can configure. Okay, and with that we can configure from one stage to another stage we can set up. Okay, so that is also we are going to configure those. Then deployment groups. Okay, so that's like here for the collection of missions for deploying the applications, we can create a deployment group. Okay, but with the agents are like to run the pipeline, but the deployment groups are maybe VMs where we want to deploy our applications. We are going to use the deployment groups. The deployment groups like we are going to set up on that application is going to be deployed, not like the pipeline is going to run. Okay, then these we have like a retention policy, how many days those like Azure artifact is all those need to store. Okay, so that's defines how many days we need to store those details. Like it's going to keep the releases, test, all that we can set up for that. So how many days that need to uh, build those. Even in the pipeline also we can specify, or like in the settings of the project settings also we can specify release retention, or we can specify those settings. Number of days we need to keep the runs, or like a number of days we need to keep the recent runs. All that also we can specify. Okay, so those also retention policies we have. And YAML we are going to use our classic pipeline and pull request validation like before merge. Manifest files manifest files are nothing but we have the like YAML files, like maybe for Terraform manifest files, or we are going to use Kubernetes files or Helm files, Docker files. Where we are going to keep is even these all we need to keep in our uh, uh, like uh, in our repo itself. We need to maintain all these. And conditional execution means like here we are going to specify like if the previous steps or previous jobs are specified, we are going to keep a condition, and if that is successful, then only we are going to use to the next level we are going to use based on the conditional execution. Say in the pipeline, these all the questions may be asked for that. Okay, so then even more scenarios like analytics view, like we can view the what are the results, all those also we can see these uh, different analytics kind of data. And in the pipeline we have this rerun failed jobs. If any of the jobs failed, again we can trigger that instead of again code commit, you just can rerun those failed jobs also, we can run it. Okay, then path filters, based on the folder changes. If some changes have been performed in my documents, those I can exclude. That means I performed some changes in my documents and I committed. I don't want to trigger a pipeline because maybe pipeline may assumes that is also one new change, and that's maybe again trigger the pipeline. Maybe unnecessarily resources are getting wasted in our scenario. Then some of the files or folders you can specify in the excludes. Even in that, if any changes have been performed also, I don't want to trigger my I don't want to trigger my pipeline. Only I'm
pipeline.
going to give the include kind of part in that. That means even from the Terraform wise also I have performed some changes, or from the like Docker files I have performed changes. I don't want to commit. Maybe if any code changes in the web directory of the application itself, if any changes comes, okay, then only I want to trigger the pipeline. But if I don't specify that includes and exclude paths, what is going to happen? For each and every change also for that branch, automatically the pipeline is going to be triggered. Okay, so then secure files also we can use, like maybe using the SSH keys, those we can copy the files also to the remote agents, like that we can specify. And by default, what are the roles we have is like a reader, contributor, project admin, build admin. We can create even different roles also. We can create, and we can send the notifications also to the email alerts, or those also we can specify. And service hooks also we can configure, like maybe triggered based on that from the other events also we'll try to configure. And in the Azure repos we have the branch policies, like maybe how many reviews we want. Even in the GitHub also we have these branch policies we have. And directly pushing to the master branch, or maybe to the important trunk branches also, like we can configure the production. Definitely we need the pull request, all those two levels of approvals, these kind of branch policies we can set up. And in the Azure boards we have the work items, sprint, burn down chart. These all like in the um, uh, in our Azure boards we are going to maintain these. Okay, then if the some of the tasks are not available by default from the Azure DevOps, we can purchase even from the marketplace also. Maybe there are some lot of third-party tools and all those from the marketplace also we can use those tasks. Maybe for that also we may need to pay some money for that. Okay, and pre-deployment approval before doing to the like staging environment, like that we are going to do. We have a pre-approval deployment approval also we can configure, and if that matches, like maybe QA need to be successful, then only I'll move to next level. Like this we can configure the pre-deployment approval. Then rollback, and if something goes wrong also, we can push back. And in the release pipeline, what we can do is we can set up into multiple environments, like do dev, QA, and we can configure the different deployment groups, and we can push to those also by configuring the release pipeline. Then here we are going to use the deployment groups like dev and deployment group, or QA production, like this we can move it. Okay, then like here, what is the difference between continuous deployment and continuous delivery is continuous delivery we require an approval finally to deploy, but the continuous deployment even seamlessly we can deploy to production environment also. Okay, so for the auto promoting all that, it will deploy till production also, but it's automatically is going to verify all those conditions, all that it is going to validate. It is going to validate. Okay, so that is a slight difference between continuous delivery and continuous deployments. Then here depends upon the pre-deployment conditions and post-deployment conditions, all these approvals. These all we are going to set up in our release pipeline we are going to set up. And when, which date it need to perform all this. And what is the deployment group is. Like we have the self-hosted missions that can be used for the dev deployment group, QA deployment group. On that environment base, we are going to deploy on that deployment group. Okay, then if the more jobs are coming, they would be in the queue. These all will discuss in the deployment groups we are going to use. So mostly we are going to deploy here. These are some of the important tasks I have set up. Okay, what is the task name here for this? So
Azure
some
Web App
important
at that
task,
one.
yeah, web app at the rate one. Say if you want to deploy to Azure web app our application, then this task we are going to use. Or if you want to execute some scripts on the VMs or VM scale sets, so then we are going to use Azure VM at the rate two. Say I want to use Kubernetes or Helm. Okay, then we need to use those relevant tasks would be there. Okay, so what is the VM task? Azure VM at the rate 2. And for the VM scale set, so Azure VM scale set deployment at the rate 1. And mostly in the Kubernetes, we are using kubectl or Helm also we are going to use. Then for Docker, Docker at the rate 2. Docker at the rate 2. For ACR also they given in the Docker at the rate 2 itself. And for Ansible, Ansible at the rate 0. Via extension meaning is, what is that meaning of via extension? By default, the task is not available. Okay, so we need to specify we need to add that extension to the marketplace. From the marketplace, we need to purchase that or we need to use that uh, Ansible.
We have
Okay.
to add the extension.
Yeah, we need
Okay.
to add that extension from the marketplace. We need to add it. That
Okay.
means by default, the task is most of the
Not
remaining
all.
by default we are getting, but some tasks we need to get it from the marketplace extensions. Okay. So then for Terraform installer at the rate one or Terraform task v1 at the rate 0. Okay. Then if you are using Nexus or Azure Artifactories, okay. So these all the packages we need to use or Visual Studio, or if you want to use JUnit, mostly we'll use JUnit also. Okay. Then like publish test results at the rate 2 for the JUnit or NUnit.
So small doubt, this J unit will perform testing
Unit
based on our
testing
test
and
cases.
integration. No, no, we need to have those test cases need to be written, but developer
Yeah.
will write that test
Yeah.
cases. But we
But the
need to
J unit
integrate with our pipeline. Yeah,
pipeline.
Java-based application, JUnit. For
Yeah.
.NET-based application, NUnit or
And
TestNG also we can have.
so these are applications for performing test cases based on the test code given by developers.
Yeah, that unit test cases, all those would be developed by the development team.
So almost small doubt, sir. We have to perform unit test and integration test both or only unit test?
Both unit testing and
Both, huh?
integration test. At the same stage itself, we are going to perform.
Okay. Yeah, clear.
After testing the unit test cases, even at the application product level, integration level also, it need to work.
Okay. Developer only has to take care of all
The
this code for
developer
test
itself will
cases.
write down the test cases.
Okay.
That maybe like if it is Java-based application, mostly that Java itself is used in that programming language for that.
Yeah, clear, sir.
And
Yeah.
regression testing, like maybe Selenium, Tosca,
Yeah.
those all would be given by uh,
Test
testers.
engineers.
Test
Test.
engineers.
Yeah.
But in Microsoft kind of terminology or Microsoft managed companies, we have one position called as SDET,
Yes.
SDET, software
Okay.
developer in testing, software developer in
Okay.
testing. Okay,
Testing. Yeah.
that means that developer kind of background guy itself is using those like scripts also. So what
Okay, sir.
that means that SDET is we can tell uh, like a software development engineering testing kind of thing. Okay, so that SDET kind of positions also like mostly QA people will do, but they will have the development background. Okay, so depends upon the C sharp or Java. So that kind of like a development background they have, and they're going to develop the unit test cases, integration, and even functional testing also. Our job role is we need to integrate those test cases with our
Yeah.
pipeline, and those results also we can store in the artifactories.
Yeah, clear, sir.
So then here, like what is the task we are using is Maven at the rate 3. Okay, and for that we are going to give the Maven pom.xml, and in the goals we are giving clean package like this we are going to give. So like this here, these tasks, most of them have been given by,
This
most of
one.
the tasks have
Marketplace.
been given by the, no, from the
Marketplace.
Azure inbuilt we are getting. If not available, we need to purchase those from the extensions.
Okay.
Important tasks all are available in the Azure itself. And if you are using GitHub by level will have those actions. Okay. Then from the GitLab wise also those that names may be changes, but the purpose is same. Okay. So then
Sir, these tasks we have to pay money or these are free, sir?
no,
These
for the
tasks are free and
agent
we
we
have
are
to pay the
going to
money.
pay for the agent and parallel settings we need to pay. But if it is a marketplace extensions, we need to pay for that also.
Okay.
Okay, so then Docker we are going to use on the Azure Web App. What is the task name is Azure Web App 1. Okay, then we need to give our subscription details. Before itself, we need to configure our subscription details and app name we need to give, package. All these we can create either through ARM templates or through PowerShell or through Terraform also we are going to create. Okay, then we are going to create the service connection, and from that service connection, we are going to pass to this. Okay, so now here we have variables. So this one you need to tell even in this Azure pipeline for the project we have, right? This pipeline try to write down in your interview also if they ask. Now what are the variables we have is build config, Docker image name, Azure subscription, web app name, AKS cluster, and AKS namespace. So it depends upon your project. Even you can configure your ACR credentials. Those also we can pass it. Okay, so then we have the Ubuntu latest. Then I'm going to use like a .NET at the rate 2. Okay, so it is going to build the projects. So .NET build. Then I'm going to, if it is Maven building, if it is NPM, I'm using NPM also. Then I'm going to create the Docker build. Okay, what is the task I'm going to use is Docker at the rate 2 is my task name. Then it's going to perform build and push. And Docker image name I'm giving as the repository. Then Docker file I have specified in my like local like my repo I have my Docker file. From that what it is doing is on that agent it's going to build the Docker, then it is going to push it also. It is going to push that also to that registry. Okay, so definitely for that we required your credentials also, service connection also is required. With that it is going to push it. Then we want to deliver the Terraform kind of scripts. Okay, so then here we need to use the like again after Docker build depends on means. So here what is that name we have given is the stage name is Docker build. Okay, so then if that above stage is successful, then only I'm going to perform these stages. That is the reason I used here
Depends on.
depends on. Okay, so then here we are going to use the Terraform scripts also. We are going to use our Ansible scripts also. Then with that, it's going to provision. Then finally, we are going to deploy that into Azure Web App. Okay, so now here depends on infra provision should be successful. Okay, so then I'm going to call that which environment, staging environment, and my task is Azure Web App at the rate 1. Say using the Azure Web App at the rate 1, we are going to deploy to this. So we are going to pass the subscription details and app name, what is that, package names, all these we are going to push to this. So like this, say we don't do in the same project like to web app and we don't deploy to AKS. Okay, either web apps will deploy or we'll use AKS the
EKS.
cluster. Okay, so then we are going to create to the service connection, and after this, we are going to write the inline commands. This we are not using kubectl task also. From the CLI itself, we are going to perform this. From the Azure CLI itself, it is going to perform those tasks. Okay. Then here we can integrate even with the like PowerShell or ARM templates also. That means we are not using Terraform. We are provisioning that infrastructure through
ARM templates.
ARM templates or any PowerShell commands also. Now here, what is the task name here?
PowerShell 2.
PowerShell 2, and already we kept one PowerShell just like .py kind of or .sh scripts. What would be the extension of your PowerShell script is .ps1. Okay, so that means we have already our PowerShell script. That script we are executing. Okay, from the file path, we are passing that, and we are passing some commands also, like variables, like what is the location, resource group name, what we want. Those from the variables we are going to pass it. Okay, so if you have any PowerShell scripts like this, we are going to use. And for the deployment of ARM template, then Azure Resource Manager template deployment at the rate 3. Okay, so this also, like which account we want to create, we need to pass the resource group name. Okay, then based on that, we have the template, like a template CSM file from all these. We need to keep all these in our source code itself. From the GitHub, we are going to keep, and that ARM templates also we are going to deploy. Means the infrastructure provisioning either through PowerShell we can do, or through ARM templates we can do, or we can use with the Terraform also we can tell. Depends upon our project, that corresponding all the three not required. So we may use one solution, and from that we are going to provision this. Okay. So now here we are going to keep this like Azure deploy.json, Azure deploy parameters.json. These two are our ARM templates code. These two are the ARM templates code, and these two we have the like PowerShell commandlets, and this is our pipeline. Above code is the above pipeline, and before itself we should have our Azure deploy.json, Azure deploy parameters.json. Okay, when you are going to use that ARM template, okay, we need to pass that like parameter template file and the parameter file we need to pass it. Parameters are nothing but inputs.tf, sorry, variables.tf in the Terraform wise. And template file is nothing but main.tf file. Okay, but these all also, these ARM templates also we are going to maintain in our, where we are going to maintain these also in our source code itself we are going to keep. And we have two PowerShell commandlets. First pre level I have run one PowerShell command. Post level also I'm running one post deploy. That is the reason here this again I have added post deployment also. I may be confirming whether those resources have been provisioned or not. One post deploy.ps1 also. Okay, that file path I'm going to give. Then by using that PowerShell at the rate 2, that PowerShell commandlet is getting executed from that. Like even in the Jenkins, we have a execute shell or bash kind of or bat kind of commands we have. Like this, we can add these commands also. Okay, so then yeah, here we have variables and variable groups we have. So we want to reusability for the pipeline if we want to give, or across the multiple pipelines also organization level we have some of the settings. Then we are going to create variable groups. The variables are at the pipeline level we are going to store. We have the maybe configuration settings or secrets, environment details, or some dynamic outputs. Those all we can declare. Okay, one method is we can pass them as the pipeline variables. Means in the YAML itself we are going to declare, or in your pipeline UI also we can declare those variables. If you are using pipeline variables, better to use from the like those all the details variables itself better to use in the YAML code itself better to declare. Or we can pass them through the environment variables, or like one stage output of one stage we can call to another stage output, or we can use from the secret kind of variables also. Then here, if you want to declare them in the variables itself, what we are doing, we are using the keyword variables, and in that itself we are going to keep. Otherwise, in the keyword key vault we need to use, but here that definitely we need to pass it from the group itself. Okay, variable group we need to declare if you want to use it for that variable from the key vault. Okay, then in the pipelines, edit variables, add and mark it as a secret. Or we can pull it from the key vault also, we can use it. Okay, this is nothing but a global Jenkins credentials kind of thing. In the Jenkins, we are maintaining the credentials. Here also the pipelines we can manage. But if we want to use from the key vault, then we need to create a variable group. And from that, we are going to pass that group ID. Okay. Otherwise, we can run those variables at the runtime also. We can pass it based on the environment details like this. We are going to set that. Or from the one output to another output also, we are going to set up that one variable output. We are going to take it that as another output. We are going to call that. Okay, or we can use environment also. We can set up using the env in the scripts we can specify. Okay, so now here depends upon that environment we are going to declare the variables. Okay, so variables we are going to use. Okay, either at the variable level we can declare or the UA level, or for sensitive details we can pass it from the group level also we are going to declare. Okay, so then what is the difference between variables and variable groups we have? That variables are used for, so variables are used for only the single pipeline, but we want to pass the values across the multiple variables, then we need to use the variable groups we need to use. Across the variables, we can pass it. Okay, variables are limited to only one pipeline. Okay, then either at the job level, step level also we can use, but variable groups are like at the organization level, we can set up at the organization level we can set up multiple pipelines can use. Okay, multiple pipeline levels we can pass it. Okay, so then like we are going to use those at the variable group level we are going to use. So now here uh, in the variables itself directly giving that variables, we need to create a like a group name, and that group name we are going to pass it. At the group name we are going to pass it. Okay, so even secrets also like from the Azure Vault, we are going to create a service connection. That vault need to be stored in the group. From that, we are going to pass it. Okay. So then here, what is the like? I have like given one variable and variable group. Okay. So which one will have the precedence? So pipeline. Say we are passed that values from a different one. Okay. To the variable will have the precedence, or variable group will have the precedence?
Variable group.
No, no. Variable will have the precedence. Okay, if you don't specify in the variable, then that will be from the group. But if you specify both in the pipeline, you specify variable, and we have the same setting from the variable group also, then definitely pipeline variables will have the higher precedence. Pipeline variables will have the higher precedence we are going to maintain. Okay, so then what are the parameters we have? Pipeline variables, environment variables, like this. Here we have finally like group variable groups are going to come into that. Okay, so then variable scope is only within the pipeline, and variable group is multiple pipelines we have. Okay, undefined in the YAML pipeline, but in the library we are going to use, and that group name we are going to pass it. Okay, but reusability won't come across the pipelines, but within the pipeline we can use them. Okay, variable groups we can use, and which is supporting key vault. Secret variables we can pass it from the UI wise we can pass, but with the vault integration is supported from variable groups. Variable groups. Okay, so then we can override this. What are the values we have that is in the YAML? If you override, then automatically those values will have the higher precedence. Okay, so but it's not going to override. Definitely for this itself, we are going to give the more priority. Okay, we have the shared different environments. We want to pass the same values and secrets we want to store. Okay, different environments. Better to use the variable groups. Okay, so we want to control some of the global settings at the organization level. Better to create the variable groups. So now here in the single YAML itself, we are passing both also. If any conflict comes, definitely that variables from the YAML itself will take the precedence than from the group also. Okay, so that group is the variable group name. In that we have multiple variables, and name is nothing but one variable we have declared. One variable we have declared. Okay, so then what is the service connection is already we discussed, like maybe with Azure, like we have some resources. Azure DevOps organization is one entity. Azure services, all those ARM is one entity, Azure Resource Manager. With this, definitely from the Azure DevOps, it required one authentication is required or service connection is required. If we want to use app services or AKS or multiple applications also I want to deploy Azure DevOps single account I have, but I want to deploy in the multiple Azure accounts also I want to deploy. For 3 projects, I have 3 different subscriptions. According to that, we need to create the service connections. Okay, so then even for the Kubernetes, Sonar Cube, for all these also, we want the service connection need to be done. Okay, in the Azure DevOps project, we need to create the service connection. Okay, and the service connection we need to use in our pipeline. Okay, say in the service connection, we can use like your subscription ID, tenant ID, these all we can use, or we can use for the like a service principal we can create in our Azure AD, and with that service principal, like we are going to authenticate to that. That is one entity, like just like roles we are giving in the IAM. Here we are creating a service principal, and to that we are going to give that ID. Okay, then in that subscription, like we need to give that we need to give the permissions also. Then in our pipeline also, we need to pass this subscription. With this itself, like this pipeline is going to authenticate with that Azure ARM, and is going to use those resources, and is going to deploy that applications in that. Okay, without having the service connection, Azure pipeline can't communicate with that. Azure pipeline can't communicate with that Azure account. Okay, so then definitely we need to use the service accounts, all this to perform this lab. I said, right, we have an Azure organization setup. For that, I'll set up Visual Studio. I'm setting up Visual Studio here. Then we need to download that Azure DevOps Manager. They have given one utility. So then with that, we will set up our Azure repos also, we will set up. So with that, we can do the lab, more lab we can perform with the real applications. Okay, so these I have installed the Visual Studio, and I'm going to choose maybe for the ASP.NET, Python.NET, then Azure Development. So these all just some extensions it's going to install. So let it install. After that, what is our domain is Azure DevOps labs.com. Azure DevOps labs.com we have. So in this we have the different labs. It shows that DevOps demo connector kind of thing. So I want to deploy multi-container Kubernetes applications. Then Azure DevOps demo generator. But they have changed. Here they're giving one repo. This repo I'll import in my Visual Studio. So Azure DevOps demo generator. This I'll clone this. First Visual Studio need to be installed. Then I'll clone that repo. From that we can import or we can generate directly the repo projects, the source code, all that they will give. From that we can start practicing those. So what is the service connection is, it's going to secure the connection with the external services. Even for Azure DevOps, Azure is also one external kind of thing. It's so Azure ARM also is one external thing. And if you want to integrate Azure Vault also, first in our Azure, we need to go to Azure Key Vault. Okay, then we need to create a Azure Key Vault. We need to create. Okay, so first we need to go to Azure Key Vault to create. We need to give the Key Vault name and all those. And here we are giving like a name of the Key Vault name is DB connection string we given, and user ID is admin password. These all we are going to store. In that we have the three key values we have. And in the Azure DevOps project settings, service connection, we need to add a resource manager, and in the pipeline library, we are going to give the variable group name. Okay, so then like that variable group name we have given is prod secrets, and we need to link it from the like key vault. That secrets, that key vault name, if you choose, all these details are going to store in our all these details are going to store in our like a variable group. It is going to store while choosing that. If you give your Azure subscription details, all that, all the vaults we will get, but we need to choose this key vault. Okay, then in our pipeline, that prod secrets. So this prod secrets, what is that? What is that prod secrets?
It is a group, sir. Tradition.
That is the variable group name we have given in our Azure DevOps project. Okay, so from this, whenever we want to pass that values, okay, so now here, this DB connection string, okay, DB connection string, or if we want to use the like passwords, those all, we can use from this dollar kind of thing. From the dollar, we are going to pass that. Okay, so like this here, we are going to use that. Say, suppose here we are not displaying anywhere our sensitive details, and even we are not keeping those in the variables also. We are keeping them in, we are keeping them in the Azure Key Vaults. We are going to store it in the Azure Key Vault. We are going to store that. With this, what is the advantage is we are not going to display even in Azure also. Okay, more centralized secret management. One scenario here is, if that key vault has been updated, that means we'll have a rotation policy. We have updated our key vault also. Then how Azure DevOps knows that also, we'll discuss. That means our key vault new password has been I have reset in my key vault. Then how DevOps knows that also, we'll discuss. Okay, so these all settings we need to deploy. Still it is installing. Let's install. And now here we need to create, say everyone try to create different vaults also. And while creating the vault, you need to choose your subscription, resource group name, key vault name, Okay, then region, so maybe choose the different pricing options we have. Then we need to add the secrets. So maybe secret name, this is a key value pair. Okay, name is we are giving database password and value you need to pass. And from that we need to create that. Okay, once you create, then we need to create a service principal. We need to create where we need to create like in that why we need the service principal is the service principal we are going to use in our like a connection type. Okay, either subscription wise or the service connection we are going to use, service principal we are going to use
Service principal and connection.
in the service connection we are going to use it instead of subscription base we are going to use the service connection. Okay, and to that service principal we are giving the permissions also. Then in the Azure service connection we are using like a service principal what we have created and we given the permission to that vault. That service principal here we are going to use instead of directly using the subscription details. Better to use service principal is the best method. Service principal is the best method. Then we need to give the service principal and all these we need to service principal ID, credentials, all those we need to use. Then it's going to store that. Okay. So after creating that, we need to create the variable groups. Okay. So I'll share this document. Go through this document also, and in our pipeline, we are going to specify that variable group name we need to specify. We need to specify that variable group name we need to specify, and from that variable, whatever the variables we have, that is going to use. Okay, that is going to use that variable group, it is going to use it. Okay, and the service connection name, what we have given in our service connections, that name we need to pass in our pipeline also. So here we need to pass our service connection name we need to specify. I hope everyone have Visual Studio.
Yes, sir. We'll install now.
Yeah, install one Visual Studio also. So from this directly we can push to Azure DevOps, all these also we can do. Developers mostly in the dev environments, they can use this itself. And locally, some companies instead of using Azure DevOps in the SaaS base, they may keep Azure DevOps server on-premises also, they may keep it.
Oh,
Azure
so,
DevOps
but this is
server
only
on.
for .NET application, right? Visual Studio.
Not like that. It's a IDE kind of also people can use for Python, Node.js.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
That extensions kind we need to install depends upon which development.
We need to install.
Mostly Java people prefer to use like Eclipse or MyEclipse.
Okay, sir.
For Java-based applications, people prefer to use. For Python code
Eclipse.
also, Visual Studio people can use. For Terraform scripts, all these also, people are using this itself, Terraform
Yes, too.
Visual Studio.
Okay, sir. Clear.
So these key values, all those once you create, how to pass it from our pipeline and how to modify, we need to understand. Okay, so these all like we'll do the lab with the one or two pipelines. We'll try to set up this. Okay, for that, how to generate these pipelines? We are using this demo project. In that, they have the application code also. They're giving in those reports. Not only Azure pipelines, they're giving the application code. All that also they're setting up. So with that, we can work on the real projects. We can work. In your project also, you need to understand each and every like um, line of the pipeline also, and in the KT also try to ask how they're passing the values, all these also try to get that from the KT. Okay, then when you have time also from the like a repo or from the GitHub, try to understand that pipeline script, each and every step, try to understand. Okay, so with this, with the key vault kind of integration, we are getting encryptions are done, access control and security also, like we are going to get it, and auditability also, who track that, all those also we can store it from the logs also. Okay, so now this pipeline, like we need to explain in our project, we have this. So in this, like here we have a Java-based application. Okay, so Maven we are using for the building the app, JUnit for the testing, SonarQube for the static code analysis, Azure Artifactories, then in that like a Terraform, Docker file, Ruby for scanning, pushing to ACR, then deploy to AKS, and finally we can integrate with Selenium. This kind of testing also we can do. This pipeline we'll discuss in the tomorrow's session. So it's going to finish this installation. Now Visual Studio is opening. Okay, so now here you can clone a repository or open a project. Here I'm going to clone that. So already they given one GitHub repo, right? Azure DevOps demo generator. This they're telling to clone that repo. It's already they have I have cloned, I think, previously. I have cleaned up that. Okay, so now I'm going to clone it. Then here we got this link, right? ADO generator. Okay, so this is the ADO generator. So now they have almost 40 to 50 projects they have. So which one you want to practice, that all the projects you can import to your Azure DevOps. So to your Azure
Yes.
DevOps, we can generate this project codes, all that we can generate. Now which one you want to practice here? Almost how many applications we have?
64.
64. Which one you want? You just practice to import that projects.
So this ADO generator is for compiling or building?
No, it is one extension kind of thing. Once we clone that, we are getting this option in the Visual Studio.
Okay.
Previously they used to do. Okay, so now depends upon your project, like maybe Azure multi-cloud deployments to Azure Kubernetes service with Azure Pipelines. Say this project I'm more interested. Okay, then that number is, enter that number. 40 is the
Number.
number. Okay, then we can authenticate to this either device login using AD authentication or personal access token. I prefer to use the PAT. Okay, then what is our Azure organization name? So we need to enter Azure organization. So our Azure organization name is this GR Dharani Kumar. Okay, that I'm going to give GR. Okay, then we need to get that PAT token. We need to get it. So here in this itself, go to user settings, personal access tokens. We already, while configuring the agent also, we got one token. But in the real time, better to store the token instead of each and every time regenerating. I'm again regenerating this. This part I'm going to use here. Whether it's again, I'll try 40. No, it is not copying properly. Yeah, now it's copied. So enter any project name. Okay, so I'll give my Kubernetes deploy. I'm giving. So now this will do is this will clone the repo, all the project settings. It is importing to that. All the manifest files, Azure like boards related, all that it will import. So everyone work with the different even in the single project also those 60 also try to import those different projects. So with that we'll understand the pipelines and Azure boards, how it looks, all those we want to we can work on that. So one also I'll use. Sorry, yes, I need to give yes there. Okay, let it be. So then if I go to my Azure DevOps project, if I go to my Azure DevOps projects, I can see that Kubernetes deploy. This project also we got it. Okay, so Kubernetes deploy we got it, and you go to your repos. So here this application also we are getting. So if it is only this pipeline we can get it, but we got this Azure-pipelines dot YAML also. So we need to understand this pipeline and what are the variables we have used and what are the values we are passing. But what we need to, in order to make it run, what we need to do, in order to make it run, what we need to do.
Really runner.
No, no. Yeah, we need that agent need to be configured. Second one is, say in this, they may be using some service connection names
Yeah.
also, and the service connections also we need to create. Okay, so like this here we have almost 60 applications, right? These all we need to work on this. And here, as of now, this they have deployed till web container itself, but we need to practice how we are going to create the Kubernetes, all these also. We need to add more steps in that. Okay, that's we need to create a Kubernetes cluster, that service connection we need to create. Those all like at the next level we need to perform those automation we need to do. Okay, so first we need to run this pipeline. But in order to run this pipeline, what we require is we want the agent need to be required. So run this pipeline. Definitely this will fail because we don't have the agent and we didn't configure the service connections also. We didn't configure that some authorization issues. Okay, so Docker, we need the Docker connections and those all resources also we need to create. Okay, so try to create those resources and the service connections. So how to run these pipelines will discuss. But they have added for the practice purpose. They not added the so they given the real application for us. Only basic steps of the pipeline they have given. But what we need to do is we need to add more stages to that pipeline. That's we need to practice. So we need to create the Kubernetes cluster. We need to add those steps, service connections, and those all. And go to this repos also. So this repos also we need to make sure that. So what are the files here we have? Just go through all these files. Okay. So this application space game application, but these application files you don't worry. Just go through what are the Docker ignore we have, Azure pipeline we have. Okay, so then what are the say if you go to this maybe in this also we may have this MVC kind of architecture, this Docker file. Okay, so then we have this app settings.json. These all try to understand as per your application itself. Okay, so for this even like we have the manifest files also. Most of these manifest files are from the Kubernetes we are going to get it. From the Kubernetes, like we need to deploy. But as of now in that pipeline, they didn't give that. So that's we need to set up those. Okay. So that means in the lab, we need to do these steps, all the steps we need to perform. Okay. But first everyone try to make it, this pipeline, try to execute this. Okay. So this pipeline like is throwing some errors, right? For that, you need to configure your own agent you need to set up, and that service connection names also you need to set up. Okay, with the sample web app, first we are going to deploy this, but later we are going to deploy to Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so that would be our uh, scenario in the real time. Okay, so everyone try to set up this environment in your Azure DevOps and try to work on those pipelines to work it. Okay, and try to understand this pipeline code also.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sure. This will try to make it run. So here we are service connections and we don't have that ACR. All these we need to create. Then this pipeline will execute for us. Okay, so we can use the self-hosted agent itself. If that is not running parallel jobs, those will go for Microsoft agent. Okay.
Okay, sir.